Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For connectors, cables, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by ICOM. Heard it, worked it, logged it. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information about ICOM radios.
It's Ham Radio.
Good evening, everyone. It's Ham Talk Live, episode number 217, Field Day Q&A 2020, recorded live on Thursday, June 18th, 2020. I'm your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight, we're joined by Paul Bourque, N1 SFE, and we'll be talking about Field Day, and he's going to take your Field Day questions, and we'll give you a chance to call in just a few minutes. Last week, it was Sterling N0SSC and Jocelyn KD8VRX here to talk about the Summer Youth on the Air events. If you missed that show, you can listen anytime at hamtalklive.com or on your favorite podcast or over on YouTube. And don't forget, you can catch the rebroadcast of Ham Talk Live each week, Saturday afternoons, about 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on WTWW 5085 AM. So, tonight, we want to get your Field Day questions in, and we are a week earlier than normal. We usually do the last-minute ones, but there's a lot of questions this year just because there are some rule changes, and we're going to start off with that, and then we'll get into some other things and your calls and questions. So let me tell you how you can do that. If you're listening to us live on Thursday night, you can call us. The phone number is 859-982-7373. Again, it's 859-982-7373. You can call in when we get to that part of the show. We won't take calls just yet, but when I let you know, that's the number to call. It's 859-982-7373. You can tweet us. We'll be watching Twitter throughout the night. Our handle on Twitter is @HamTalkLive. So you can tweet us whenever you want, and it'll sit there until we're ready for you. So you can do it that way, and if you're on Spreaker, of course, you can type into the comments and do it that way. So I'll be back with Paul right after this word from ICOM America right here on Ham Talk Live. Get out and be active with ICOM's new IC705 and its optional multifunction backpack. The IC705 is your perfect QRP companion as you have base station features and functionality at the tip of your fingers in a portable package covering HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. This compact rig weighs in at 1 kilogram or just over 2 pounds with RF direct sampling for most of the HF band and IF sampling for frequencies above 25 megahertz and a large 4.3-inch color touchscreen with live band scope and waterfall. It runs 5 watts with a battery, 10 watts with a power supply. It has sideband, CW, AM, FM, and full D-Star functions, a micro USB connector, Bluetooth, wireless LAN, micro SD card slot, integrated GPS with antenna and GPS logger, and the speaker mic comes standard and supports QRP operations. The perfect accessory for your IC705 is the optional backpack, LC192, with a special compartment for your IC705 and room for accessories for soda activations or just a day in the park. Visit icomamerica.com/amateur for more information about ICOM radios.
The early bird may get the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese. You're listening to Ham Talk Live with Neil Rapp.
Be sure to visit ICOM at icomamerica.com/amateur. They help bring Ham Talk Live your way each and every week on Thursday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern Time at hamtalklive.com. Tonight, my guest is ARRL Contest Program Manager Paul Bourque, N1 SFE. Paul has just completed his first full year in that role. He's been licensed since 1994, and like me, he listened for distant AM stations quite a bit, and later developed a career involving various aspects of broadcasting. And he started at a broadcast station at the University of Hartford, where the station's general manager, John Ramsey, W1JNR, pushed him to get his license. He grew up in Newington and wanted the opportunity to give back to this hobby, and he likes to find ways to get newer hams into contests. And to spell the idea, you need tons and tons and tons of equipment to participate. So, Paul, welcome back to the show from that location for the last time.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me, Neil. Yeah, it's very exciting. I just bought a house, so I'm in the process of moving. So, of course, moving over field day weekend, that's the best time to move, right?
Especially if you're like assigned taking care of field day.
It's the timing couldn't be any better.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, it's been an absolute crazy year. Life has been turned upside down on so many different levels. And even in April, when people said, oh, well, what's going to happen with field day? What are we going to do with field day? Are we still going to do it? And it wasn't long. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're still having field day. It just may look a little different. And then some rule changes happened, and that seems to be a lot of the questions I'm getting, and talking with you before the show, it seems to be a lot of the questions you're getting. So let's start off right off the bat with these new changes that are just for this year because of the pandemic.
Sure. Well, I just want to say early on, we weren't quite sure where this was going, because when we first started getting the stuff ready for field day, that was back in February, and early on we weren't quite sure what was going to happen with everything, and stuff had to get published in QST. Of course, we had publication deadline, which are set out quite far, so we weren't quite sure exactly how everything was going to pan out. So early on, we went with the adapt and that whole messaging. Very early on, but back in late May, the Programs and Services Committee had agreed to make a couple rule changes, which you just referenced. And so one of those was, the big one was, since we're encouraging participants to participate from home if they can't get together due to social distancing, they would be operating from home as either a Class D Delta or Class E Echo stations. And Class D normally cannot count contacts for field day with other Class D stations. In other words, that would be two home stations working on commercial power. It'd be like your normal ham shack at home. It'd be like just a normal home-to-home contact. Normally, those don't count for field day point credit. This year, And this year only, we are allowing those contacts to count for field day points.
So there's going to be a lot more Class D operations we would expect. Because a lot of people are going to be operating from home and they're going to be running Class D. And so normally you could only work other classes. You couldn't work the Class D because we didn't want a home-to-home thing. But this year is different.
So we're trying to really kind of differentiate. Field day, of course, is not a contest, but we're trying to differentiate it from just a normal event where people just get out from their homes and work each other, and really field days is a slightly different animal than most amateur radio contests, seeing as it is not a contest. There are points. I think the points really. I mean, one of the questions I get a lot, Neil, is, well, if it's not a contest, why are there points? Well, it encourages participation, and also some groups have little friendly competitions with their neighboring clubs or clubs across the country even. So some of them do make it into a competition. They have a little like a friendly competition, or even it could be something to gauge your performance from year to year. So that's really the only that's really the only reason why there are points.
Now, there was a common saying around the teaching field whenever the pandemic was going on that it was kind of like, whose line is it anyway? The points are made up and they don't matter.
Yeah, the points. So anyway, so Class D to Class D contacts can count for credit, and you're right. There will probably be a lot more just all around entries to field day this year, because last year we had about 3,100 distinct field day entries that were submitted. And with all the Class D to Class D, we were expecting that number to be a bit higher, because a lot of the participants that would have gotten together in a Class A or a Class F, a big group, will all be getting together separately. Well, not getting together, but they'll be separate, but they'll be able to participate individually from their own homes. So that's going to drive the numbers up.
I would expect so. And so to kind of simplify this, let me make sure I'm correct here in saying this. So if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong. But there are no restrictions on who you work during field day this year, no matter what class you are.
Right. Exactly. That is 100% correct.
All right. Well, then there's the club thing. So why don't you go ahead and address the club situation?
Okay. So what they decide to do is, instead of nobody can get people can't get together as a big club, what we're allowing is individual participants, like if you or I participated using our own call signs from our homes, we can declare a club name in the entry form. This is on the online entry form. And our score would be attributed to what they call an aggregate club score. It's not going to go, it's not going to go towards a field day entry under the club call sign. It's going to go, there will be a list of club names. And if anyone's familiar with the way we do club scoring for contests, basically what happens is individual participant scores, the participants will get counted towards the club score, and it will just add up a club score. So we're doing something very similar to that. So what you will see is, like say, Neil, you and I were both participating in the same club from our homes. You'd see a listing for my call sign under whatever class I operated. Like say I operated mobile, so I was a Class C. And you operated as a Class D because you were home. Your score would show up under your call sign as Class D with the club name that you entered into the field day form. My score would show up under the Class C scores because I was Class C mobile with the club name, and then there will be a listing under the club with the scores of mine and yours, and if the club did a one under the club call sign from did a Class A or a Class F or even a Class B if it was a small group, those scores would all be tallied together and show up under a different section with the club total all together. So, I think
So
that's
it's
one of
kind of
the-
like there's two different scorings. There's the club scoring, and then there's the station scoring.
Right, so you see the station scoring, right? So in other words, if your club got together, and this is one of the questions I'm getting a lot. A question would be similar, like, well, my club is doing a Class A this year, and I just, they're using the club call sign. I don't feel that I really want to head out and get together socially like that. So I'm going to participate from home. What do I do, and how does the score count? Because this is several subparts of this. One is, do I use the club call sign? And the answer is no. The club call sign can only be used in one location, and that any of those transmitters needs to be within that 1,000-foot diameter circle. That is the rule under Class. Well, it's listed under the Class A, but it's true for every class with the exception of Class C mobile. So you'll use your own station call sign from your own individual location. And then when you submit the field day entry separately, you're going to submit your own field day entry, and you will put the name of the club in the club name field on the entry form, which normally we don't even publish club names for Class D and E stations. But, not only are we going to publish them, then there will be another list that will combine not only your club's Class A score, but also your Class D score or any other individuals that chose to attribute their score to the club.
And
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it makes perfect sense to me. And I had actually talked to you before because we planned something for Youth on the Air, and I wanted to confirm it with you before we started letting everybody know about it. And that was, you can put any club in there you want. It's not a set list. So contesters may be familiar with this like set list of contest clubs. And,
right.
And those are fine, but you can type anything in there. So trying to spell it the same and capitalize the same and that kind of thing would be really helpful.
So so really what needs to happen is we're really trying to discourage clubs from using a straight acronym, like an organization might be called MARS, and there could be a million of them, depending on where they're from. I would really recommend spelling out the name of the club, common abbreviations and acronyms like Amateur Radio Society, and putting in MARS is Middlesex in Connecticut. But if you were to put in Middlesex ARS, I would understand what that means, because ARS is Amateur Radio Society. But you need to stay away from common acronyms that could be used by other groups all throughout the country. It'd be very hard to determine which club they're actually meaning. So what we're working on is, on the field day form, when you start typing, it's going to pre-populate suggestions of club names that will seem to fit. Now, again, as you mentioned, you could put any name in there, like a Class B Bravo entry is a 1 or 2 person club. If you and I were doing it, we can put Paul and Neil's field day, and that would be perfectly acceptable. And you'll see that if you ever looked in the Class B scores, you'll see, things like that aren't even a club name. So you don't have to be an ARRL affiliated club. You don't need to be registered as a contest club. I get a lot of questions about that too, because in the contests you have to register as a contest club, and there's set rules about who can participate, where you need to be located. None of that's applying for field day. We're really kind of keeping this as simplified as possible. Just to help individuals who don't want to or can't participate in the group because of COVID-19, that they can still at least make their efforts count towards the club as a whole.
And if you can standardize your club's official name, that would make Paul's life much easier.
Right. So I would probably recommend, if you are a ARRL club, or if you are any club, I would recommend using your official club name. That would probably make the compilation of the results a lot. And not that I just want to make my life easier, but what's going to happen is I'm going to have thousands of entries, and this is not an automated process at all. This is something that I will get a spreadsheet of results, and I'll have to figure out what club everybody meant to attribute their scores to. So it's going to be an interesting task when it comes time to compiling the results for the December QST.
Now, I'll give an example, and that gives me another way to sneak in another plug for Youth on the Air. But Youth on the Air, we're going to do a compilation club score. So we're trying to get everybody that's 25 or under in age. We're trying to get everybody, if you don't have a club that you want to go ahead and assign yours to put in Youth on the Air. And not Yoda, but Youth on the Air. So, anybody 25 or under that you don't have another club to put it under Youth on the Air. And we'd like to kind of see how the young people can compile a score. And again, you're still going to get your individual score, but we'd kind of like to see how that would go. So I'll put in the plug for the Youth on the Air thing, but that's for ages 25 and below. So now that we've addressed the big things that you're getting a ton of questions about, let's talk just a little bit about planning, because there are some groups that are still going to go, and they're still going to social distance, but they're still going to have a club activity. So let's talk a little bit about some of these changes that were recommended to maintain social distancing, whether that be operate from home or whether that be, come up with a way to separate everybody.
Sure. Well, I mean, really what the ARRL stance is, really, first and foremost, pay attention to the guidance from your local and regional state health authorities. We don't know what the situation's like from New Hampshire to California. Could be totally different. So the first and foremost is really pay attention to that guidance. Decide whether you can gather in a large group, and if you can gather in some sort of group, either you need to limit the amount of people that can be there, or keep the different field day stations so far apart and using sanitization protocols. I mean, there's just so many different things that can come into play here. So there's really no one size fits all. First of all, there's so many different situations throughout the whole country, which is really kind of hard to set one set rule or for everyone, given as the country is so spread out.
Okay, some good ideas there, and then. Aside from all of this, aside from all of the club entries and all that kind of stuff that we're doing this year, in past field day submissions, what are the most common mistakes that you notice on those entry forms that people should watch out for?
So one of the things I noticed, if you're claiming bonus points, there are certain bonus points that require a supporting documentation to either be uploaded in the field day entry, or you can send it in as independent documentation. I have some people that will email, say, hey, this is for this club's, or this entry's bonus point documentation. So when you're uploading the documentation, one of the things we notice is if the file is very large, or if you have several very large files, you may have to split them up and do them as more than one upload. When you upload an entry, you're allowed to go back and either make changes or add more documentation. Either you don't have everything at one time, or if we set a file limit of 6 megabytes last year, and sometimes what was going on last year, and we were working on this because it was there was a little computer glitch where it wouldn't give you a confirmation page when you uploaded. If it was too big, it would go right back to the entry form and it would be blank. So one thing you want to make sure, especially when you have large files, is to make sure that you get a confirmation page and a confirmation email. A properly submitted field day entry through the web app, which is at field-day.arrl.org. If you click on the top of the page where it says entry form, will bring you to the entry form. It will give you You'll be able to submit your email address, and it will give you a confirmation email, but also the computer screen will display a page that has a confirmation number and a confirmation that was submitted. So it's important to make sure that you receive your confirmation number. If you don't, either give us a call at the contest program manager's office, which is me, or send an email, and we'll help you step you through it. So I really think that the two things were the missing bonus point documentation, which would mean you would not get that bonus point. In other words, if you claim bonus points for, say, media publicity, and you did not upload supporting documents for it, you would not get that bonus point. And it will tell you that when you submit too. It will tell you that you are missing certain ones.
All right, very good. Well, we're going to take a break because we want to get to some questions, and we do have a couple of questions that have rolled in already. So we want to give everybody a chance to ask those, so we can talk more if not. But I know we've got some coming in, so we're going to take a break and do that, and we'll be back to do that right after this word from Tower Electronics right here on Ham Talk Live.
Jerry, what's up, man? I haven't seen you at Sunbucks in a while. I used to see you every morning getting coffee. What's up?
Well, I can't afford Sunbucks 5 days a week anymore. I had to spend my money on PL259s. You know, those antenna projects I've been meaning to do. I had to do them before my HOA finds out I have antennas.
That's too bad, Jerry. I miss seeing you and catching up over coffee. You should get your PL259s from Tower Electronics. They have great stuff. Jerry, you're back. Oh, QRM Heterodyne Frappuccino. That's a good choice. How's it going? Did you get all those antennas up before the HOA police showed up?
Yeah, I got them all done. Thanks for telling me about Tower Electronics. Now I can have my coffee. I just saved a bunch of money on my PL259s by switching to Tower Electronics.
Don't get caught without PL259s. Visit Tower Electronics online at pl-259.com or at a Hamfest near you. Or give them a call at 920-435-2973. And be sure to pick up some power poles, adapters, and cables too.
Join the conversation. Give us a call at 859-982-7373. Again, the number to call is 859-982-7373. Or, if you'd rather type than talk, tweet us at Ham Talk Live. Now, here's Neil Rapp with more Ham Talk Live.
CQ Field Day. CQ Field Day. This is Ham Talk Live with Neil Rapp.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. Ham Talk Live's on the air every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at hamtalklive.com. And be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And it's time for your calls now. So if you have a question for Paul, give us a call at 859-982-7373, or you can tweet at Ham Talk Live. And if you're listening to us on WTWW or on the podcast edition, you won't be able to reach us live since the show is on Thursday. And we have a call. Let me see if we can take the call here. Good evening. Welcome to Ham Talk Live.
Hey, my name is Jerry, KI4IO, here in faraway Warrenton, Virginia. I was just going to go set up in my yard in a tent, throw up a new antenna, and operate Class B. But according to the questions I've seen, I can't do that this year. Is that true?
Well, so what class? You're saying Class B? Was that
battery. I was going to operate just battery, and then throw up and not use my home antenna.
Sure. So normally a Class B, and this is actually for every year, not just for this year, but normally Class B is really kind of portable where you actually move away from your normal QTH. Now, I don't know what your setup is, but I'm thinking that if you were to go set up an attack out away from the house, and you're really making an effort to really be like a portable, think of a portable operation as if you were backpacking somewhere or something like that. So, again, normally we're trying to encourage Class B to be groups that are not using their normal stations, not using any of their normal station antennas, and running completely off the grid and on portable power sources. So
yeah, so really, I'd be out in my front yard and not that far from the house, and most of the state parks around here probably don't even have the toilets opened up yet. So that's why I'm opting for something like this.
If you are operating on a fully portable power source that's not on the commercial power grid, you would probably be more like a Class E Echo. So really the intent of that rule is to really encourage people from operating in, like if you were to go to a park down the street or something, or a farmer's field, or you got somebody at a big piece of property that says, hey, you can set up over here, certainly go ahead, and then be a Class B. So that is not just a for this year thing. That is normally the intent of a Class B, is to really make an effort to be a portable station away from your home station and home facilities.
Yeah, the last couple of years we've been 50 miles from home, so out in the Shenandoah National Park, but can't do it this year. Okay, thank you very much for your response.
All right, you're welcome, Jerry. Thanks.
All right, bye.
Thanks for calling, Jerry. 859-982-7373 is the number, and we do have some that have come in on Twitter here. Brett WY7BG says, I'm thinking of putting one of my rigs on Zoom, perhaps with a temporary field day antenna, and allowing members of my local club to join the Zoom meeting and remote control the rig, which, by the way, will be set up for FT4 and FT8. What class would that setup be?
Well, there's a lot going on there.
Yes, there's a lot going on there.
One is FT4 and FT8 are allowed modes. Any digital mode is allowed as long as it supports the field day exchange. The real question about what class it would be is he at home? Is he running on commercial power? Think about all the stations. He said one of his rigs. So if he has one of his rigs, like his main rig at home, running on it's his regular station rig, he's on commercial power, that would be a class D home station. So the Zoom remote controlled rig would not be considered a different class. So I'm not sure whether he's doing that as a club. Is he using the club call sign? There's a lot of variables there. I would really recommend sending in an email to us or giving us a call and discuss those particulars, because there's a lot going on there that what class it depends on a lot of variables. How many total participants are there is another one too. So if he had more than 3 people participating, even though it was set up at his home, that would be back in as a Class A again. So there's a lot of different variables. So really, I would recommend kind of contacting us with your specifics, and we can help you out there.
Okay, yeah, remote, it's come up, and like for Youth on the Air, we're going to have a remote station, so kids, that are
and
don't have a rig at home, they can get on and do that, but it's going to be in the same location, every time that way.
Nothing in the field day rules that prohibits it's somebody from getting in and remotely accessing a field day transmitter. So a lot of clubs are even doing that in their Class A. Say, hey, we have this one transmitter set up, where we're going to allow people to remotely access. We just have to, there's certain FCC rules that you got to make sure as to which part of the bands you're transmitting on, whether there's a control operator that has the correct privileges and all that stuff too. So there's those concerns as well with the remote operation.
Sure. So where was the line then between making that a D or an A on commercial?
Well, it really is the class. The Class A is a club or non-club group of 3 or more persons. So it depends on how many total participants there are. So if it was just, again, how many participants are there? So, you have to look at and that is, participants are people that help set up, people who are in not only licensed cams, but non-licensed cams, or non-licensed people. It could be anyone. A participant is anyone who comes to your field day and helps set up an antenna, does anything. They're considered a participant. They don't have to be a licensed cam. So again, it all depends on how your specific setup is as to which class it is. So just the remote operation itself wouldn't really drive what class it is.
Okay, very good. All right, well, we've got another call on the line, so let's see who we have here, even though I know who it is. Welcome to Ham Talk Live.
Hi, Neil. Hi, Paul. This is Jocelyn, KD8VRX, and I have questions like everybody else. First, sure. I think Neil said it already, but Paul, nobody, I think, envies your position because of the whole situation. Normally, I think it's easy. We all show up at the club and, hey, we're a 3 Alpha, and that's what I am. Since a lot of us are operating from home, we have lots of questions, as you can understand. I have the same question that Jerry from Virginia had. I thought I could be a B, operate from my backyard, because I looked at a E station as operating on battery power from my shack in the basement, not being outside. So I think maybe I know it's clear for you, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't for Jerry. So I will say maybe clarify that in future. In the future, portable is this many feet or miles away from home or something similar.
I really think it's really about whether you made a significant effort to really not just set up on the deck 5 steps from your kitchen sliding door, and you're sitting on the deck there, and you're right outside the door. To me, that is not really what the intent of a Class B is. I mean, if you have a yard that's deep and you're out and you bushwhack your way out to the back 40 and you set up some antennas, think about what the intent of the rule is, and really, did you satisfy that? I mean, if you were just doing it to say, well, I'm doing this just so I can be Class B, and you set up portable, yes, they're portable antennas, but you're right outside your kitchen door. Is that really portable? I mean, yeah, it's portable because it's not hooked up to anything, but that's what I mean. Like the rule is, and again, normally in the past we've not had really to worry about it because, like I said, we normally go with a club or something, and we do the same thing similar every year, so we kind of know. But this year, like I said, everything's been flipped on its head, so everybody's got questions. So, like I said, I did not envy. And usually what we see. Usually what we see for Class B entries is you'll see, last year there was a couple guys that went up to a hilltop up in California, and the 2 of them backpacked in and set up batteries and solar up on the hill and camped out there on top of the hill and ran all weekend as a Class B. I mean, that's normally what we see as a Class B. All right. Things like and somebody, just a couple guys setting up in a small park down the street in their town or something. That's not a normal station location is really kind of the key words there. And I'm sorry I keep interrupting you, Jonathan.
No, I appreciate the clarification, and I'm sure all the other people listening, other operators listening on the show also appreciate it. I had a question regarding points. So let's say I'm going to be a home station running on emergency power, and I'm going to be running 150 watt. Is my point multiplier 2? Or because as soon as you throw in battery, it seems like it wants to throw you into different categories.
Right. So if you're looking at Class B, Class D. I'm sorry. I stand corrected. So yeah, there is the power multiplier thing. So that is And I'm scrolling to the next section of the rules right now. I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay.
The right power multiplier. Where are you? There's too many rules. Power multiplier. There we go. Okay. So the power multiplier is determined by the highest power output of any of the transmitters used during field day. Right? If all contacts are made using 5 watts or less, okay, you said you're going to be 150 watts?
I'll be running 100 watts or QRP, but obviously I have to go with a higher one, so we'll go with 100 watts.
Right. So if you were running 5 watts or higher, and you were under 150 watts, your power multiplier would be 2.
Okay.
Now,
and that's what I read, but since I had a chance to get in touch with you, I thought I'd take the moment to clarify that.
Right. So that would be a power multiplier of 2 because you are basically it's between 5 and between QRP and 150 watts would be 2. And then
Perfect.
if you were greater
Perfect.
than 150, like if you were running an amp or something, your power multiplier is 1. So what happens is the power multipliers go up if you use lower power, and then if you're using 5 watts or less, but the source is from commercial main or a motor-driven generator. In other words, either an alternator from a car is actually considered a motor-driven generator because that's driven off the motor of the or a gasoline-powered generator. You still would be a power multiplier of 2. When it jumps up to 5, is you're using a power source other than commercially supplied power or a motor-driven generator. In other words, batteries, solar cells,
solar.
A squirrel on a little wheel going around.
Hamster cage. Yeah, we're going to need a couple of squirrels.
We've actually seen some people doing it on a bicycle power generator.
I do remember seeing that at Hamvention. I think somebody had like the army style where you don't do it with your feet, but you do it with your hands. And just thinking, you got to be committed at that point. But I wanted to make one more comment, and this is, and Neil's aware of this because I passed it by him earlier. But our club, and I encourage other clubs to be doing the same thing, because there's going to be so many stations running from home. We're having a Zoom session with our club to show people how to set up their logging software ahead of time. And, if there's any question and things, so that part, at least, most people know how to set up their radios portable. That's, they know how to do that. We're trying to backfill where the computer logging will be done. So we're going to have a quick session on doing that. And then we'll have another session after field day to show them how to use your website to post their entries and how to do it effectively. And as far as the club call sign or club name, we had the same thing. We were, what do we put in the acronym, the full thing? And I think what we've decided, we're just going to put the club call sign because that's probably a unique and very easy thing for everybody to know. So I didn't know if that was okay or not.
I would, a club call sign is an easy thing to identify, but what's going to happen is in the results, it'll just show the club call sign. So if you want to have your club name, because if you want to have your club name in the results, I would suggest using the official club name. And what we're going to do on the field day entry form is, I mentioned this earlier, we're going to have like an autocomplete thing set up. So when you start typing in the name of a club, it's going to give you a list of suggestions. Because again, you can put in any name. So we're really trying to. I mean, call signs for some groups probably they're going to do that. But I would probably recommend putting in the name of the club because that way then it will appear as the name of your club in the results. But
sounds good.
The one thing is to be consistent. So if you what's the name of your club?
Westchester Amateur Radio Association.
All right. So if you were to put Westchester ARRL and everybody did that, I would probably know who you were unless there was more than one Westchester. That is where but if that's the official name of the club and there's only one Westchester Amateur Radio Association, using a common acronym like ARRL on the end or ARS for Amateur Radio Society, or ARC for Amateur Radio Club. Those are pretty common, and a lot of times in the field day article in QST, we abbreviate those back down to them for space limitations as well. So.
Yeah, and we may just even tag in the like I said, the call sign at the end, put the name in the call sign just to make it absolutely unique. Anyways, thank you very much, Paul, for answering all those questions. I'm sure there's other people that have tons of questions that want to get on, so I will let you guys go, and thank you very much for being on the show. And Neil, thanks you for having the show because it's a hot topic this year. So I'll say 73 for now.
All right, thanks. 73. Thanks for the call.
Thanks, Jocelyn, for calling. Talk to you soon.
Right. Bye.
Yeah, it is a hot topic this year. Sometimes we're sitting around going, are there going to be any questions? Yeah, not this year. So let's see what else we have here. 859-982-7373 is the phone number if you'd like to call in. Let's see. We haven't got to the Spreaker comments yet. So Troy, W9KVR, wants to know any significant changes in acceptable modes or bands that we need to know.
Modes or bands, pretty much no changes. It's still the amateur bands, excluding the WARC bands. And so basically bands are 160, 80, 40, 20, 15, and 10 on HF, as well as all bands 6 meters and up. So anything 50 megahertz and above, all bands are acceptable there. So it's the HF bands that I mentioned, again, 160, 80, 40, 20, 15, and 10. And then as far as modes, any amateur radio mode that's authorized and legal is accepted as long as it supports the field day exchange. And the only other rule that was changed, and this is actually a rule change, not just a temporary waiver, is that the limit of the GOTA stations contacts. You used to be limited for a GOTA station, which is a get-on-the-air station that a Class A can operate. I believe Class A and F, actually. Anyway, anyone who can, in the rules, anyone who can use a get-on-the-air station, you were limited to 500 QSOs for the GOTA station. Now it's limited to 1,000 QSOs. That really is the only significant rule change aside from the temporary 2020 waivers.
All right. Chris, AA4CB, says the only major change we're going to have this year is pulled pork and chicken, no Dominoes this year. So there we go.
Well, no Dominoes. Yeah, of course.
Troy says they're having Iroquois County Pork Producers Association pork burgers on the grill. So there we go. And sounds like the food's still going to be good for field day. Lisa says she's going to be running the GOTA station this year, so that's a great thing. So thank you, Lisa, for doing that. That's something that I've been doing for many field days in a row now, and I want to operate, but I guess this year is my chance to operate now. Let's see. Skeeter Nash in 5ASH says, at our last meeting, some of our members proposed smoking the Boston butts before bringing them to field day. Others wanted to wait and smoke them on Friday night into Saturday morning, has been done in the past. What would you suggest?
Well, as long as you got to go low and slow. I recommend low and slow. Smoking something, it's always low and slow. And what kind of wood are you using? That's really the question.
All right, Carl, KD9HQT asks, can you operate under Class D and E under the same call? Like if you want to operate some bands on commercial and others on emergency?
Well, basically, the answer is no. So you're going to. Yeah. So if you're on commercial power, that is going to override if you were working anything on the non-commercial power. So in other words, it's almost like the higher power source will win. So if there's any contact was made on commercial power, that would automatically push your entry into Class D instead of E.
Okay, very good. Well, I think we're
It's almost like
caught up here.
It's almost like kind of like with the power multiplier. If you made a whole bunch of contacts on 5 watts, but made 2 on 150, you're just all the 5 watt ones basically are, everything's going to be 150 because it's the maximum of what you did throughout the whole field day period.
Very good. 859-982-7373 is the phone number, and we're going to make that the last call for questions here tonight. 859-982-7373, or tweet us at Ham Talk Live. But we'll take one more look here in just a minute. So, besides moving, what are your field day plans this year?
Well, let me put it to you this way: I took my last antenna down at my old QTH yesterday. So that was a 4-band fan dipole, which is now out in my garage. Hopefully, it won't be tangled up when I undo this. I tried my best not to tangle this thing up, but you know how that goes. So I also have just a couple of mono band dipoles. I may set up at the new QTH with one of my little portable radios and just throw a dipole up and see if I can make some contacts. It all depends on how much painting I get done.
Now there's something you probably never heard of for field day before. It all depends on how much painting I get done.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the honey-do list too. You have that. It's like, well, all depends on whether I can get through the honey-do list. And
well, you've been on the job for a year now. So what are your thoughts after the first year?
Well, my first thought is I'm glad that this wasn't my first year in having field day, because I was hired on June 3rd. That was my start date. So last year's field day was kind of like a trial by fire. I got thrown in feet first. Just like, oh, by the way, here's field day. Of course, I had a lot of support from Bart, W9JJ, and all the staff, Dan Henderson, and all the ghosts of field day past. But I'm just glad that this year was not my first year doing this and having the COVID thing hit at the same time. But it definitely a lot of learning, and I'm really starting to get into the groove of everything that goes on. There's so many little cogs and different gears that all have to turn between log checking and contests and the results publication. And there's a lot of people involved, and definitely I think the first year is really making the contacts with those people and getting a good rapport with them, and it makes life a lot easier.
Well, very good. Well, okay, I've checked the tweet or through those. I've checked the comments. We're through those. The phone isn't ringing. So I'm going to get the last question in for the night, and this may be the most important one of them all. Are you going to include a Ted's steamed cheeseburger in the field day meal?
Oh, geez, the Ted's steamed cheeseburger. Well, I as you know, I got to watch my diet, and the last Ted's I had was when I was with you.
Oh my goodness, that was July.
Yeah, and I've moved further from Ted's.
Oh no! Oh my goodness!
And for those of you who don't know, a steamed cheeseburger is a very Central Connecticut thing. So basically, they literally steam the meat and then they steam this chunk of cheese and they pour it over the top. And it is, some people love them. I kind of tend to, but some people are like, I don't know. But it's totally a Central Connecticut thing. So if you're ever coming up to visit HQ, ask for Paul N1SFE, and he'll tell you where to find a good steamed cheeseburger.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I enjoyed my trip to Ted's with you, and it's good that we could get away and do that one evening while I was up Newington Way. So I think that's going to do it, Paul. So we've got another week for questions. If people want to ask questions in this last week, tell them how to do it.
All right, so you can send us an email, and what is that email address? You can either send it to contests, plural, at ARRL.org. Or you can send it to FD info, field day info at ARRL.org. Either of those get, or my call sign. My call sign will get to me direct. The other ones are a inbox monitored by more than one person. So if I just happen to, be moving or something. Anyway, but I usually do tend to get back to the emails, even the ones in my inbox. Even though I am between two houses and we're working remotely from home, I usually try to check that mailbox at least several times a day. Even when I'm off moving.
Well, very good. We appreciate all of your work on Field Day and making this work and giving some options here for doing this in the middle of a pandemic. It's a first for everybody. So we thank you ahead of time for all those hours you're going to have to put in extra to get all this scoring going too.
And I thank you for not using the term unprecedented times.
Oh, yes. Well, in these unprecedented times, we're all in this together.
I was,
so buy our car.
And anything I tried to write for any of the either the website or QST, I've been purposely. I understand this is unprecedented, but the term is just like I got to stop using that.
Yeah. I've got a whole big spiel on that. You probably don't want to hear it, but I
think really, Neil, the whole crux of it is really be safe and really pay attention to what your local authorities are telling you to do. I think the biggest thing is to be safe. We want us all to be healthy. We want us all to see Field Day 2021. So again, I think safety is our first priority.
And that is the perfect place to leave it. I think that's a very good place to end. So thank you, Paul, for being on the show. We appreciate it and enjoy the move. And I look forward to hearing more and seeing the place after the painting's done.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for having me on, Neil. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Well, that is a wrap for this week's edition of Ham Talk Live. Thanks to my guest, Paul Bourque, N1SFE, and everybody out there in cyberspace for listening, calling in, typing in. And I invite you back next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Kevin Zari, KK4YEL, and Robert Bankston, KE4AL, will be here to talk about satellite courtesy and running a special event. So you don't want to miss that. For a list of all of our upcoming guests, go to hamtalklive.com. And if you like the show, please leave us a review. That's all we ask. So for now, this is Neil, WB9VPG, saying 73, 75, and may the good DX be yours.